Welcome to lecture 3. This is picking up some of the points and gives a few examples on the reflective inquiry, which is really the logbook, etc. And the next one. You could do with a little bit of help on this. As you know, these lectures are fairly straightforward for you because you do all the work directly. So, reflective practice. It complements, as you know, the workplace logbook, which you're all asking questions about in the starting. I've seen some examples, which is good. I'd like to see other people's examples before you go too far. So the log sheet, it outlines the task that you did, the way you understood it, the way you did it. The journal really is there to record your perception of the consequence of the task. Did it succeed, go wrong, create something else that needed to be done? And the two of them brought together, I hate this term, it's the yin-yang. So the two aspects of the same phenomenon but looked at in different ways. So you've got to select a positive or a negative work circumstance where you got you learned something, maybe you got some personal growth from it. And we're doing it all the time. We all do it. And as I told you when we started off, you actually will end up doing this subconsciously, you won't know you are. But at the moment, you're just trying to identify events that you gain something from. And having something go wrong is positive, because you learn not to do it again, and you'll learn a different way of doing it. Why? Once you've selected it, then exactly why is it meaningful to you? Not the company or the client, but to you. Why is it meaningful to you? May not be meaningful to anyone else, but to you it may be. And you've got to record the reflective process as the journal. And there's a little help thing on Appendix 1, and if you can't find it, I'll send it on to you directly. Some ideas for the journal, just some guideline things. Think about leadership. Were you in a position of leadership, or was your leader in trouble? Did you learn something from observing them? Motivation. This one comes up quite often in the journals, that people who've been in a job for too long and that lack motivation, and they analyse what is it that's making them unmotivated. If you're in a new job, you probably are motivated. You can take it from that point of view as well. Communication's another biggie. Goes hand in hand with teamwork quite often. Are you having difficulties communicating with someone? Are they not communicating clearly to you? Or did you go to a particularly good presentation that you learned something from? And you've got to learn something from all of these, good or bad. Teamwork, probably the one we all think of most of the time. Did the team work? Is there a difficult person in the team? Are you getting dumped with all the work? Or are you not getting credit for what you're doing? It goes on and on and on and on. You can pick any of them. Of course, if you're working in a reasonable sized organisation, or even a small one, you will stand back and you will watch power and politics in play between the senior people. They're always trying to outmaneuver each other, stab each other in the back so they get a promotion, or they get more money, or they get the credit for something. You'll often find people take credit for stuff that's positive, but it wasn't them, and they always hand credit to someone else for something that goes wrong. They pass the buck. You will see this happening. And you can tick that. It doesn't have to be you involved, you just need to have observed it and analyse it. Conflict and negotiations. Putting those two together makes you think it's all about a contract and some money or something, or some variations, or not necessarily. It could be conflict between two individuals. I've been through that. And the negotiations was dispute resolution for me. And then I left the job because he was still an arse. So you can see conflict. It may involve you, it may not involve you. You may watch it, you could be a witness to it. Work culture. What's the culture of where you're working or where you used to work? Was it good, bad? You can pick that for a journal idea and reflect on, it wasn't very good because of X, Y, Z, but I learned this from it. And then, have any of you ever been through organisational change? It's terribly unsettling for everybody involved. It causes friction. The main weakness in organisational plan is lack of planning, what changed? Lack of planning and lack of clear communication to those affected. If you've ever seen that, it's probably give you far too much to talk about. We point out that you could revisit a previous course and have a look at the text. That could be helpful to you there. The assessments for the journal, 1 and 3. So use the situational reflective analysis model. Basically, you can, I told a few people there's another way you could call this. We just called it, what was the goal? And we're assuming it went wrong. So where did it go awry? So at the bottom there, out of the normal or incorrect. It didn't achieve what the goal was. So what was the eventual outcome when it went off course? And what did you learn from it? So that's what it is. And in your weekly journal is when you actually ponder it. The logbooks where you just record it. Don't think about it, just record it. And then when you get to your journal, you got the headings and things. So describing a complaint or an encounter, what is it? Bit of background to what you're considering, how, where, the actual decisions made, who, when, why, and why is it important to you? Right, what did you learn from it? And it's really insight plus hindsight. So, you're projecting what you think is going to happen, and you're using your experience, which is your hindsight, and your insight into what's happening, to try foresight. It's to predict what you think is going to happen. And if you've got good insight and you've learned from your hindsight, not forgotten your experiences, put the two together, you'll be very good at the foresight. Unfortunately, you'll find you'll tell people, oh, can you just do it a different way a little bit, because, and they won't, and you're probably right, it'll go wrong. But that all goes down with your assessment. And a lot of people don't do this, and they make the same mistakes over and over again. So an example, planning. You've got to, when you do a plan, how, what, when, where, who and why. How, what, when, where, who and why. So deliver the first steps for an online session. So you're doing a session like this, like our tutorial, should we say. So the aim is to open dialogue and get to know the class, which is difficult when the system didn't work. I think that's sorted this week now. A few of us did manage to get together towards the end. I'm hoping more people turn up from now on. So you want to talk to the students, you want to get to know them, you want to get a bit of rapport going with them. You've got to make sure that any of the links you've got to videos, to downloads, you've got to try and make sure that they're there and they check it works. And the whole module was there and the whole module was checked and it worked until it was released. And you found loads of problems with it. So I know how we checked it. I'm not sure why it went wrong yet, because I'm getting conflicting advice from TASAC. The actual session, you've got to make sure the link's available within Moodle. So you had the link to the tutorial and then tested it did work, and it didn't seem to work for everybody, and then it did for a couple of people. So the PowerPoint slides, you have to prepare them, you've got to check them, then you've got to record them with the voiceover like I'm doing now, and then they've got to be uploaded before the class time date. Normally I upload mine on the end of the week or the Monday of the week they're due. After the session, you've got to give the detail of it, day and time, etc. for the next one. Analyse what happened. I had a lot to analyse and consider when it all went wrong, mostly through the technology. And you've got to take responsibility. So who is responsible? A couple of the reasons it didn't work was because I didn't understand the system very well, so that was my fault, and a couple of them were just computer errors. But I've done this sort of thing in my head and with the emails anyway about the tutorials last week. Another example where something's gone awry, where the goal didn't equal the outcome. Still the how, what, when, where, who, why. Ooh, try saying that after a drink. So we're still thinking about the tutorials. Low attendance. I have another unit. There's 123 people on it and 21 turned up for the tutorial, and it was working for them. Where were the rest? Well, what occurred? I didn't get to meet the students. I didn't get to build up a rapport. No conversation. They couldn't ask questions about anything. I suspect quite a lot were watching the State of Origin because it overlapped with that. The links again, had to make sure that I was the host of the session to make sure I could actually record it, which was a problem in the first week but not now. Got to make sure recordings made and available, which I haven't managed to do yet. There was no point doing it last week for your session or the session or the course with a lot of people on that I went for, because there was very few people there. Feedback. I did contact the students that attended. I thanked them for attending. I asked them if they had any problems and if they had suggestions. And of course it's my responsibility for that. Apparently the low attendance is common, and I would deliberately not load up a tutorial just to catch people out sometimes, but I let them know I do that. Outcome, the consequences, how, what, when, where, who, why, again. How do I promote a better attendance for the tutorials? I'm only interested in the tutorials to help the students. Maybe I have the attitude I couldn't care less if they can't bother to attend, because I know they'll fail then, because they won't be getting my advice and guidance. That's a bit harsh, maybe. The aim, should it be modified, maintained as it is, or should I just give up altogether? How do I encourage student conversation and engagement? Well, through the tutorials, the small hard groups that turn up are extremely good. I enjoy talking to them and I think they get a lot out of it. And I go round this one by letting people email me directly as well. I can recheck the user activity, so I can see who tried to log on and who has watched a video and who has downloaded stuff. I can see that, so I know how many people are, and if I really want to, I can see who it is and when they did it. But I don't drill down that far, I just look at the overall number. Maybe the presentation was too short or too long, so I might have to go and revisit the actual slides and adjust them a little bit. Next time, what am I going to do? Well, make sure, recheck the users can actually access it, in case that was an issue, which it has been so far. And again, it's mostly my responsibility. I do change my role and I try to access everything as a student. I use my own student number, because I've got a number for doing a PhD, to go in from a different computer to check it, and it seems to work, and everyone else has problems, so I do as much as you can. But again, you have to do the review of it. And I don't write this down, I do it in my head, and it's recorded by the emails I send out for assistance. What's your take on something? It'll be different from someone else. You'll have a different opinion of these things, tutorials not working, to my opinion of them. Again, it's the how, what, when, where, who, and why, and it's your view of things. So these things aren't working for my tutorial, so I've got to remain patient. And I've got to keep going on with it. I've got to keep persisting, trying to get it to work, helping students that need to update their software and make sure their flash works on their computers. And so, patience. I ask other lecturers around me about what their numbers are like. Is my attendance number about the same for the class size as theirs? It actually is, which is a bit depressing sometimes. So I'm not out of profile there, so I feel a bit better there. Check for presentation time clashes. We actually circulated a timetable before we started term 2, and we all put down on the timetable when we wanted our hours tutorial, and I had 3 units. I put them all down. I was the first person to put anything on the timesheet, and we've still got clashes where other people ignored it or didn't know students were doing both units. So it's unavoidable to an extent. We try to minimise that. So yeah, there are clashes, but it's really beyond their control with all the other units. Check for post-session reviews. So I look at the Q&A and people send me emails. They're all greatly accepted. And this is completely it's for me to do the task evaluation. No one else does this. And I do it so I can learn from it, so I can improve. And that is all we want to look at this week. And I forgot to put an end slide on for you, but I could have shown you a better picture, shouldn't I? But I could do that now, but it'd be a waste of time for you. So, yep, that's it. We'll talk about it in the tutorial. A lot of people have emailed me already, and I've been helping out. People have been sending me examples of their work logbook thing, so everybody that I've seen so far is now on the right track. They're not all going to be exactly the same, because we're individuals. They'll all be a teeny bit different, but do use the format that we gave you. And feel free to just send us the first 2 or 3 weeks of it to me, you know, just one sheet of A4 will do, and I can have a look and send it back. And I'll look forward to talking to you at the tutorial. So, ta-ra everybody. Enjoy the rest of your